As a police officer, I was often asked the question, do I have the right to refuse to take the breathalyzer test? To my surprise, I'm even asked that more so as an attorney, but oftentimes it's after the fact, after someone has refused to take the breathalyzer test, or after they took it and wonder if the evidence obtained from the breathalyzer is admissible in their DUI trial. What you must understand is that the breathalyzer test, whether it's blood, breath, or alcohol, blood, breath, or urine, or any other type of evasion into the body, under the law, is considered a search. It is a search of your person. That literally means this: in order for them to get that evidence from you, your breath, that would be the evidence blowing into the machine, your blood would be the evidence, them drawing it out with a needle. They would either need a warrant from a judge to get it, or they would need consent from you to get it. Those are broadly, and again, there are other things, but I'll focus on those two. They need a warrant or they need consent from you. Can you refuse consent? Yes, you can always refuse consent when consent is the method to get it. Consent is completely up to you. Does that mean that the police officer, whomever, will not go get a warrant? No, it doesn't mean that necessarily at all. Oftentimes the police officers will go get a warrant, especially if they have reasonable suspicion that you are driving under the influence. Where this consent to take breathalyzer becomes important is that in many jurisdictions, it's called admin per se. It's this term called admin per se. If you remember, driver's license, it's a license, not a right. And most jurisdictions have it to where if you refuse to take the breathalyzer test, your license is automatically suspended. And so while they may not get the breath in time to establish, or the blood in time to establish that you were over the legal limit, you would still waive your rights to a driver's license, because again, that's a DMV process. You have a license to drive, not a right to drive in most jurisdictions in the United States. And so could you refuse? Absolutely, you could refuse to. Is it wise all the time to refuse? Not necessarily. It's not necessarily wise all the time to refuse to take that, because again, the officer is left with the option to go get a warrant if they suspect that a crime is afoot, and the evidence, the blood, the breath that's in your body is evidence to that crime. Then they could get a warrant from a neutral magistrate that would sign off on it. This happens every day, in the field. Folks refuse to take those tests. So again, I advise clients all the time, yes, you can refuse. Is it wise to refuse all the time? No. If you refuse, is there another way for the officers to get the blood, breath, or urine? Absolutely, there is a warrant. They can get a warrant from a judge and get it. But again, if this ever happens to you, if you refuse, you need to let your attorney know. It'll be listed in the police report, but you let the attorney know why you refuse, so they can make these arguments in court. If there was a warrant, let the attorney know, so the attorney can review the warrant and make sure that that the police officer or whomever had sufficient basis for that warrant while they were getting or while they were conducting that search of your person.